It's time again for the Insiders with Chuck Chvala and Scott Jensen, sponsored by the Wisconsin Counties Association and the Tommy G. Thompson Center on Public Leadership.
Hi, I'm Chuck Chvala, former Senate Majority Leader.
And I'm Scott Jensen, former Assembly Speaker.
We're the Insiders. So, Scott, the big thing that's happening around the country, that's AI is a big part of our economy and the growth of our economy now. And that comes down to Wisconsin and many places, especially because of all the water we have, in the data center issue. So, what's happening with data centers? Where are we headed? And what about the data center legislation that's standing in front of the legislature? What's going to happen? What are the big issues that are involved?
Yeah, I did a poll way back last fall, like in September, here in Wisconsin, that showed that on both the right and the left, that people's views on data centers had suddenly flipped. And it was maybe only 3, 4 weeks later after that Charlie Berens did his viral video online. And it not only impacted the data center debate in Wisconsin, but all over the country. I hear people in other states talking about those videos. So this issue has gone from where the data centers were positioned as we are the jobs of the future, to an issue of like, wait, they're going to raise my electric rates and take our water. Neither of those is exactly right? So I think what's going to happen, I really do believe that there should be a consensus here. I'm somewhat surprised that in the Assembly, the vote was mostly partisan. I realize the Democrats thought that the bill is, imperfect. They'd like to make some changes to it. We're going too fast, whatever. This is an issue that voters are intensely watching. And you can see it in that Microsoft, whose president is a Wisconsin native, and tried to bring some jobs home to his home state, then quickly had to back off on this issue. Now has reconfigured it and looks like they're going to be welcomed in southeastern Wisconsin and build 15 data centers there. But even he says, yeah, we got to pay our fair share and we got to demonstrate to people we're not going to be taking too much water. And these things actually, it's kind of like a swimming pool. When you first fill it up, it takes a lot of water, but after that, you just have to have a little bit to deal with evaporation. It's not like they're constantly drawing more from the water source. So I think they need to get to a place where the data centers are paying their complete cost that they're pushing onto the system, and that they can demonstrate that they're going to be responsible in trying to recycle water. I'm hoping that both parties can get to that answer. But if it continues to be partisan, I'm afraid, to my surprise, I don't understand why the Dems are holding on to this. They will pay a price in this, because this is actually an issue that in certain parts of the state, including a couple of swing districts, this matters to people.
I agree with everything Scott said in terms of the two major issues there, which is that they need to pay their full costs in utilities. And I think that is happening. That's going to happen in the legislation. And also that they can't be crazy water users. That this is something that's going to be a Wisconsin thing as we go forward. We will be one of the attractive places to be because of the water resources that we have. But there is something beyond that. And the reason that there's a fight, and by the way, I was educated. I want to give a shout out to a woman who represents I think the far north, maybe Superior, Representative Stroud was on a Wisconsin Public Radio debate with the Republican author of the legislation. And what was going on there is the Republicans are trying to say, oh, they want to fool with what kind of resources might be used. The Democrats wanting to push, hey, this should be able to be anywhere, including where the location of these data centers are. And by the way, we ought to also be able to use renewable resources. We ought to be able to use the wind and solar to be able to produce the energy that's going to do this. This is creating a huge new demand for energy, and that ought to be done appropriately. And frankly, it's cheaper to do it that way. And so there are some other issues here that should be addressed. By the way, I think this is an example, and you're going to see a lot of this, I think. If the Democrats do take over both the governor's office and 2 houses of the legislature, this is a bill that I think Scott's right. The Republicans kind of have the Democrats over a barrel. You don't want to go unregulated. So Democrats may at the end of the day have to let this go, or Tony might have to sign. This is an example of where the governor might be in a hard spot because there's no other way he can get this done. But here's the deal. I think next year, if you have both houses, Democrat and a Democratic governor, This is one that I think will be repaired by the Dems. So if you're a data center person out there, don't think this is the final word. This is not going to be the final word. Be ready for next year because you're going to see a different set of regulations. That is my take on it. But this is an area where Scott is right. And I think everyone now agrees, or 90% of the population agrees, hey, they got to pay not only their fair share, but they got to pay for all the infrastructure that comes in this. Anything new, we can't be driving up people's utility rates at all. That's one. Second thing, they can't be overusers on water when there are other options that are available. So be good for Wisconsin at the end of the day, but we should be able to use renewable resources in order to meet those new energy needs.
Well, affordability is the top issue among voters right now. Unfortunately, electric rates have been going up. I believe that's a Democrat-appointed Public Service Commission approving all of those rates. And Democrats are skating at the edge here. They should come to the table and help finish this off and make this a bipartisan issue. But if not, it's going to be a winner for Republicans in the fall.
We'll see you next time, folks.
You've been listening to The Insider with Chuck Chvala and Scott Jensen, sponsored by the Wisconsin Counties Association and the Tommy G. Thompson Center on Public Leadership.